Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. I really have a good feeling, friends. I have a feeling the cultural pendulum is swinging. I keep saying it, I get it, I'm a broken record. But it's going from anecdotal evidence, it's going from anecdotal examples, to something that seems more widespread. One example is anecdotal, but more and more examples that continue to pile up across different fields and industries, the more they start to stack, well, the more clear it becomes that it's less anecdotal at this point, and more of an actual social trend. The concept of get woke, go broke, well, it's finally starting to sink in, as every single major institution of power, every field of study, every field of research, every different type of industry, this wokeness that has infiltrated almost everything like a damn disease, well, it seems as though it's finally slowly coming to a fiery crash and burn ending. It feels as though it was always inevitable, but the woke world is facing apocalypse, one little anecdotal example at a time. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. It seems as though we're winning the culture wars. As hard economic times hit, first people to get the boot seem to be the wokesters. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, bye-bye and farewell wokies. You are on the chopping block. We have major news coming out of Disney. Disney needs a new diversity chief. Disastrous former chief departs. Disney's new chief of diversity, Latondra Newton, is leaving the company. Disney announced in an internal company note obtained by Fox News. I'm writing to share the news that Latondra Newton has decided to leave the Walt Disney Company to pursue other endeavors. Latondra has led the company's strategic diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, including partnering with stakeholders across the enterprise to amplify stories of the world by people around the world. Newton has led brands' diversity, equity, and inclusion programs for 6 years. Newton is best known for her opposition to words like princess. Wow, what an incredible contribution. We'll probably stop reading the article there because pretty much that last sentence tells us all that we need to know. Latondra Newton, this woman, comes into Disney as an executive, leading the brand's diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, and her major contribution to the company is what exactly? Banning words like princess. How absolutely insane. How do you have Disney without princess? I mean, Disney's claim to fame, outside of Mickey Mouse and other little cartoon shticks, are Disney princesses. All the little girls with dreams of being princesses, well, we can't have that anymore, no. Knowing their logic, it's probably, I don't know, racism of some sorts, or probably too reminiscent of Western European colonialism. And so she steps in and takes Disney into a completely different direction. How utterly pathetic, but of course not exactly surprising at all. Now, the official narrative on the outside is that Latondra Newton quit her job, but it's just as likely that her time is up at this point and Disney is looking to go in a different direction, and I think that's probably the more likely scenario, because wokeness has brought companies like Disney nothing but drama, loss of profits, and overall in general across the corporate world, across different corporations, it's brought nothing but major losses in revenue, in some cases to the tune of billions of dollars. Disney has produced a whole lot of different TV shows and movies over the last, let's say, 5 to 6 years, and we've seen a clear trend. And actually, now that I think about it, Latondra Newton has been there for around 6 years. But all of this shift, all of this move towards more culturally diverse, forced diversity, DEI content, and of course, Disney's infamous, quote, not-so-secret gay agenda, everything that they've done, everything they've produced based on this new woke model has crashed and burned. All of it. Literally all of it. Clearly, the company's in panic mode. They're never going to actually state it publicly, but moves like this tell you all that you need to know. I mean, most recently with the whole Little Mermaid thing, their casting decision was largely viewed as woke and race pandering. From my understanding, the movie itself wasn't even terrible. I think for the most part, the audience actually enjoyed it, but it still ended up flopping. It did relatively well domestically, but in Southeast Asian markets, it tanked. And that's a significant portion of these major entertainment production houses' revenue. It did absolutely terrible in places like China, Korea, and other Asian nations. Well, what speaks louder than your DEI social credit score are two things: your Chinese social credit score and profits. And clearly, going woke is not profitable. We are seeing the collapse of corporate wokeness thanks to Bud Light, thanks to Disney, and a couple other major corporations who probably just simply can't sustain the loss in profits anymore. When the going gets tough economically, financially, the first things to go, the first things to get cut are the failing woke endeavors. We saw that with Netflix, we're seeing that actively with Disney and their shift in focus, and we continue to see it elsewhere. Big wins in the culture war. We've got this right over here, which is big in the world of sports. NHL now bans pride jerseys and other specialty uniforms. Pride jerseys are a thing of the past, at least when it comes to seeing them on NHL ice surfaces. Special jerseys of any kind are no longer allowed to be worn by NHL teams during warm-ups. Commissioner Gary Bettman said today in an interview with Sportsnet Elliot Friedman. The decision was made following the NHL Board of Governors meeting and is a clear response to multiple players refusing to wear their team's pride jerseys last season. Good. Every sports league ought to do the same. The woke pandering has no place on the field, on the ice, on the court, no matter what the sport. People are there to get away from all this cultural nonsense and this divisive crap and all this activism. Clearly it was bad for business, and of course it wasn't solving any actual deep cultural issues, mostly making things worse as all these leftist activist initiatives do. And finally, some light bulbs are ticking on in people's brains and the right decisions are being made. This isn't an act of hatred or bigotry, it's just the right thing to do. This massive movement of Gay Pride Month and now Gay Pride season and all this activism hasn't accomplished anything. In fact, for the most part, I've noticed less tolerance, more hatred, more divisiveness from both sides the more this stuff ramps up. You know, the idea of the culture wars isn't bringing us together, isn't uniting us as a society. In fact, it's pulling us further apart. It's time to end it. As Donald Trump famously said,
everything woke turns to shit. Okay.
And he's right. Here's another great example. Jada Pinkett Smith's Red Table Talk is canceled after 5 years. Jada Pinkett Smith, another woke warrior, given incredible multi-million-dollar production contracts with Netflix and Facebook to produce garbage woke content like the Red Table Talk and Queen Cleopatra. Of course, we've covered that disaster. Well, again, the first things to go because it simply isn't working. Here's another perfect example. Spotify executive says Harry and Meghan are, quote, grifters.
Spotify executive Bill Simmons is hitting out at Prince Harry and Meghan. He made these scathing remarks after the Sussex's podcast deal with Spotify ended after just one season.
I wish I had been involved in the Meghan and Harry leave Spotify negotiation. The grifters. That's the podcast we should have launched with them. I got to get drunk one night and tell the story of the Zoom I had with Harry to try to help him with a podcast idea. Do it. It's one of my best stories.
Executives are realizing that in many cases, these woke celebrities and woke producers, or these woke, untalented, useless people who happen to just stumble into these producer roles, aren't actually producing any content of real value. All of it flops. The consumer doesn't want it. The consumer is not interested. They're not creating enlightening content that's opening the world's eyes. All of these closed-minded bigots, all of these regular Americans that these out-of-touch celebrities view as closed-minded bigots aren't having aha moments because they watched a Harry and Meghan documentary or a Jada Pinkett Smith documentary or some woke Disney nonsense, or watching their favorite sports team wear a jersey or a slogan. No, it's viewed as a cringe corporate tactic, a pandering tactic, and people are turned off by it. And regular people aren't uneducated bigots that need to be lectured by major corporations and celebrities. Regular people are tolerant and accepting. They don't care. And this constant pushing of this narrative that we're backwards and hateful in the West is absurd. And people are sick of it. Everyone has acceptance in society. Everyone has equal rights. And it's time to simply move on and to view each other as human beings rather than people fitting identity groups and identity checkboxes. In other words, it's time to move away from all of this woke, social justice, intersectionality pyramid nonsense. And it's time to send all of these ridiculous wokesters back to the kids' table so the adults can get back in charge. Anyways, just multiple examples that the pendulum is swinging. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. You know that we'd love to have you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.